Red Devotion. We'll give him the thumbs up and the green light, and then we will watch round number 13 of action as Thompson is still in top 8 contention. We want to see him while we can, assuming that he will still be in top 8 contention later on. Temple of Abandon to start things off here in round number 13.
This one, the big match. Loss here will knock them out of top 8 contention. Also note, only one player left in the tournament at X and 1 in sole first place. That's Gabriel Jogler, also playing Obs on Aggro.
Well, it is the most popular deck here in day 2, 10 copies. Thoughtseize here for Thompson. We see a Surak, a Courser.
Lands.
Lands. Wooded Foothills Forest, a Mountain, and a Nykthos. Ian did take a mulligan here.
Well, on a mulligan, course, as we said a lot of times, Course of Kruvix is a great card to have. Thoughtseize, though, so good against these devotion strategies. They have a lot of air in the deck.
There's a Caryatid. Off the top of the deck, you knew it was there.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have one spot remaining in.
This will be a Fleecemane line. Got to get those beatdowns going.
Yeah, I like this. Thoughtseize into Fleecemane line is a really great start for the Obs on Aggro in this matchup. Needs to punish the fact that Ian has some synergy. He needs to get a good early game going. Now, Ian with a great draw for the turn, though.
Yeah, Courser of Kruvix is certainly a nice find. He's going to play Surak right now, get that out there. We'll see if Thompson has a removal spell for this.
Yeah, interesting choice for Jasheway. He had the option of Surak. Also had the option to play Courser and try to hit that bonus card.
Yeah. Right now the hand here is just Courser and lands. Fleecemane line's going to come through thanks to Obs on Charm clearing a path. Thompson will have to take 1 to cast it off the Caves of Koilos for white mana, but everything is okay for Thompson thus far. Though the draw this turn for Jasheway is a copy of Dragonlord Atarka. Not as far away from that as you might think.
No, this is... We talked about how Gerry start was what he wants to do. Now, Courser's Caryatids and cards like Dragonlord Atarka, that's what the Devotion deck wants to be doing.
See the Unwritten is on top of the deck. Haven't seen a lot of that card in Standard.
No, but it is online next turn. Now, it's not ferocious, so it won't get 2 cards, but still should get something big.
In comes the Fleecemane line. A Temple, top card going to go to the bottom. The follow-up is a Rakshasa Death Dealer, pass that turn back.
Yeah, so Gerry getting threats on the board, but Jasheway's life total is still very high.
Nykthos is the reveal. That's going to enter the battlefield, trigger, gain some life. Forest on top of the deck now.
Yeah, so originally I was wondering whether or not Ian would wait on See the Unwritten to get 2 of them off the Atarka. That's pretty greedy, and especially with Forest being the card that he'll draw next turn, I think we're just going to see Ian fire this one off.
I would have interest in doing so. I know it won't be ferocious, as you did mention, but this will still be just fine.
Yeah, I want to get a creature. I also really don't want to draw Forest.
I do not want to draw Forest either. I kind of like Wishwood Elemental.
Yeah, I was wondering if we were going to miss here, but nope. Of the 8 cards, there certainly is 1 monster in it. That's too many cards.
That might be too many cards.
Yeah, he counted and then did it wrong. We'll see. I mean, that's a mistake. So the judge will assess the situation. Because he flipped the cards, I don't know exactly what's happened. We'll see what the ruling is. He flipped the cards 1 at a time, so I can't imagine it's a game loss here, especially because that top card is already revealed by Courser. Ian flips too many cards, but there was no card revealed that wouldn't have been revealed. So like the fix here is pretty easy, saying take that Temple, put it back on top of your deck.
It is a pretty simple fix. I mean, obviously an honest mistake, just miscounted there. Yeah. So I think the correction has already been made. Temple Abandon's back on top of the deck. Wishwood Elemental is into play. Courser's going to come into the red zone, and as long as Ian does remember, that Temple of Abandon actually is going to go face down into play because of Wishwood Elemental. So no harm done.
Yeah, it's interesting. Actually, if there's not a Courser of Kruvix in play, there probably a penalty results from doing that.
Potentially.
Because I knew you'd be revealing extra cards, but he actually didn't really violate anything there.
Here comes Death Dealer. Here comes Fleecemane line. I'm checking Gerry's mana base there. He's got only a single white mana in case of Koilos, and he does have a copy of Wingmate Rock in hand. Unfortunately for him, he can't cast it.
Yeah, and I like this block from Ian, just throwing his creature in front of Rakshasa Death Dealer. So, yeah, he's going to lose his Whisperwood to the Fleecemane, but he gets to trade his Manifest with a Death Dealer, and that's not terrible.
I don't know. I'm okay with this exchange if I'm Gerry. I want Whisperwood off of the table.
Yeah, I don't know how much I was a fan of putting the Whisperwood in front of the Lion. I like the chump block of the Manifest in front of the Death Dealer, just as is, forcing Gerry to use up some of his mana. Because then if Gerry regenerated, this Dragonlord Atarka would have gotten to kill Fleecemane Lion.
Yep.
But, yeah, I don't know. It seemed aggressive to let the Whisperwood go there.
There's an Elvish Mystic.
Because of Nykthos, that one's free.
Here comes the Courser. See if he wants to catch Regular Atarka right now. He's not going to. Here's an attack. Thompson picked up a copy of Manic Influence, which means he now can play the Wingmate Rock.
Yeah, he can play it and raid it. It'll be tough, not 6 toughness, so Atarka won't be able to take care of both halves.
Yep. Surak on top of the deck. I'll do a little bit of counting here if he can play Surak and Dragonlord Atarka in the same turn.
Yeah, well, so Surak would bring him up to 6 devotion. I don't know. He doesn't have enough for both. It's close.
Does have a copy of Nykthos in hand.
Oh, well, he has a second. Okay,
Yeah.
he does have a second copy of Nykthos. Now the math behind that becomes pretty interesting.
And he's doing the math right now, so we'll see if he can figure it out on his own. This is going to tap for 4 green.
All right, 4
There's
green.
Surak.
This actually should work, so then he gets to play Nykthos.
Gain a life, too.
Yep.
That
Now
would
the
certainly
Nykthos
matter.
is for 6. So here's 1 red and 6. Yep, there's 6 green. There's 1 red. That is 7.
There's Dragonlord Atarka.
Dragonlord Atarka. She could have haste this turn, too.
I have a feeling she will have haste this turn.
Well, Gerry's at 8,
Yeah.
so I like giving Atarka haste.
Me too.
It's a
Me too.
heads up play by Ian, recognizing that he can swing the mana creatures too. Gerry is priced into blocking Atarka, and Gerry will choose the out of not blocking Atarka and not blocking anything. Game 1 goes to Ian Jasheway.
Yes, it does. He defeats Gerry Thompson in game number 1. Green Red Devotion up a game here over Abzan Aggro. We're going to go to the sideboard, so those players are going to do the same. We will start with Thompson, which you have in front of you. He's got to slow this Devotion deck down.
Yeah, so, well, he either needs to slow it down or he needs to try to make himself faster. It is hard to slow down the Devotion decks just because they're so redundant. But we look at his sideboard. He has not that much going. He has 2 copies of Self-Inflicted Wound. That figures to be okay against the Devotion deck. It may tag a mana creature, which isn't great, but he can use that. Outside of that, there isn't too much going on. Glare of Heresy, Hornet Nest, maybe Drown in Sorrow. There's not too much he wants to board in. I do think he'll go to the 4th Wingmate Rock. Attacking in the air has been a good strategy against Devotion, but Gerry does not have too many tools for this matchup.
On the other side here for Ian, he's got 3 copies of Hornet Nest, 2 Xenagos the Reveler, 2 Nightly Disciple, 2 Arbor Colossus, a Xenagos God of Revels, 3 Nissa World Waker, and a Reclamation Sage. You have to imagine he's going to go to Arbor Colossus, given that he's seen Wingmate Rock.
He's seen Wingmate Rock, he's going to go to Arbor Colossus. This is a matchup that gets better for Ian post-board. A lot of times out of the Devotion decks, actually these C players consider going to Hornet Nest out of the sideboard in this matchup too. Just because it forces Gerry to only attack through the air, and while it's not a permanent solution, it buys him enough time to bridge the way to his finishers.
Well, these players are going to sideboard and shuffle up. Thompson will be on the play here for game number 2. We'll quickly talk about the regional championships that is coming up here with Star City Games on August 1st. A playmat that's really sweet, I think.
All right, so I really like this one. This is inspired by the Ellen DeGeneres Oscars photo. As remember, Star City Games has states and regional championships every Pro Tour weekend. So the next one, the Summer 2015, is coming up on August 1st. You can win this playmat by showing up to them. More info will be coming out on this at starcitygames.com/regionals.
At the very least, we have the playmat for you guys, but as Matthias had mentioned, more information coming down the pipeline. Star City Games has a lot of events to plan for, like Grand Prix London, this one, the rest of the invitationals too. So when we have more details, we will certainly bring them to you as we do get ready for game number 2 here between Jasheway and Thompson. Green Red Devotion up a game here. Gerry's got to be quick. You have to be quick to try to beat this deck. He's got to have one of those 2 drops on turn 2, especially on the play. That is very important.
Ian bridges the way pretty quickly to his high-end drops.
Well, you expect a deck like this to have a lot of mana acceleration. There are 4 Elvish Mystics, 4 Sylvan Caryatids, and 4 Rattleclaw Mystics here, 4 Courser of Crewfix as well. And then he's got his heavy hitters, Whisperwood Elemental, Dragonlord Atarka. There are 4 of each of those cards. 3 Pelucranos, 3 Suraks, 3 See the Unwrittens, 3 Genesis Hydras. So a lot of heavy hitters here.
4 Dragonlord Atarka is just huge here.
Yeah.
And one thing that we actually saw as the evolution right now of Standard for the current metagame, talking about how we've had some Grand Prix this weekend. If you looked at over in Japan, Green-Red doing exceptional there. Or actually, no, sorry, it was in Shanghai. It was in China. But Green-Red has been on the fringes of the meta. I mean, we saw Chris Van Meter win an open with it a while back. But after that, it didn't stick around for a while.
Yeah,
Very hard.
Chris won back in Syracuse with Green Red Dragons, really dominated that tournament, and picked up a little bit after that, but then, it kind of moved away. We saw some players played at the Pro Tour, at Pro Tour Dragon Star Kier, some players making the top 8 with a strategy, and then after that, players seem to adjust. It's a rather easy deck to adjust to, and it's kind of gone away a little bit after that, though Chris is still a huge fan of the deck in certain metagames, so.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting part is that I don't know how this deck matches up against decks like Esper Dragons, for example. That seems to be pretty tough for it. That said, once other decks start going more mid-rangey, more, once everybody starts to go for Esper Dragons and everybody starts to play Den Protectors and Deathmist Raptors, well, Devotion starts to look pretty good again.
Yeah, absolutely. When people are playing the Deathmist Raptor plus Den Protector package, that's a pretty fair package, honestly.
Ian does not care. If you want to play a 5-mana creature to get something back, Ian is more than happy with that.
Yeah, I'll play See the Unwritten for 2 cards, or I'll play Genesis Hydra for 2 cards, and one of them's a really large Genesis Hydra, so feel free to do all that nonsense if you'd like. We'll see if Gerry Thompson can overcome this Green Red Devotion deck now, however. It does seem to be a pretty difficult match. I mean, just the game cannot go long. But Ian's also capable of making the game go short and being very explosive with a card like Dragon Lord Atarka early in the head of schedule. So we'll see. I mean, Abzan Aggro has surprised me quite a bit in this tournament, just watching it play. We watched Todd Anderson beat Steve Mann a little bit earlier. Mann was playing Abzan Control. Of course, Anderson was playing Abzan Aggro. Really expected Mann to win that matchup.
I mean, that's the beauty behind the Abzan Aggro deck, is that it's powerful enough that its bad matchups aren't that bad. I mean, you're playing cards like 4 Abzan Charm and 4 Siege Rhinos. It's hard to say that a matchup is terrible for you. Those cards are just great in every situation.
Yeah, they are obscenely powerful cards. That much is for sure. You have to make some sacrifices with your mana base to be able to cast them, but assuming that you can cast them, I think we all know by now just how powerful Charm and Rhino are. We'll see if Thompson's able to draw those cards in this particular game and tie things up. He'll be on the play here. He'll take a look at the opening 7. Jasheway will do the same.
Gerry will get to be on the play again, and that's important. He would like to dodge Elvish Mystic draws as well from Ian.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'd prefer for the Mana Accelerant to be 2 mana, but it's almost impossible for Ian not to have a Mana Accelerant in hand. Thompson's going to take a mulligan, and Jasheway's going to do the same.
Better situation for Gerry than it is for Ian.
Yeah.
Devotion is a deck that is hurt by mulligans a fair amount.
Yes.
Abzan Aggro can play just fine on 6.
Yeah, I think I mean, the Green Devotion deck's a ramp deck.
Yeah.
And ramp decks don't like the mulligan. I think we've learned that over the course of Magic history. Unless they have some insanely heavy hitter at the top of the curve like Primeval Titan, in that, because Primeval Titan can undo mulligans. But they don't have a card like that. I mean, Whisperwood Elemental is, I think, the closest you can get. Courser Crewfix does do a nice job of undoing mulligans, however.
Yeah, Courser undoes mulligans in that it gets you cards back. But one of the advantages to a ramp deck is its explosiveness. And while Courser gets you cards, it does it very slowly.
Yeah.
So, you're not going to Courser into a turn 5 Atarka very often.
That is extremely unlikely. Thompson going to keep his 6 very quickly. We'll see what Jasheway likes. Remember, the thing about Devotion decks, too, is that discard's really good against them, especially when they mulligan.
Looking at Gerry's hand, he has brought Self-Inflicted Wound in for the matchup.
Not too much of a surprise there. Just a forest and a passing of the turn there from Jasheway. Thompson will draw. I picked up a copy of Jamoka's Command. He's going to pass the turn back. Jasheway will draw.
It has removal. I don't know. That's good. Gerry would like to have threats.
See if he's going to play Self-Inflicted Wound. He's just going to go with Anafenza. Get a big 4/4 on the table and pass that turn back.
Yeah, that gives him the option next turn of perhaps playing both Jamoka's Command and Self-Inflicted Wound. Also, he needs pressure. These removal spells aren't... If he's just removing Ian's cards and both players are trading land drops, that's not actually an exchange that favors Gerry.
He needs a clock plus removal.
Right.
He's got a clock now, and we know he's got removal, so we'll see if he can cast it all as he starts things off with Anafenza. Jasheway going to play Radical Mystic face down. Pass that turn back. Thompson will draw.
Has options. Can double kill spell this turn. He can also go for Siege Rhino.
There's a Temple.
All right, well, that will make some of those decisions less. Now, can play one of his kill spells.
What's interesting about morphing the Radical Mystic there, which I think is the correct play, honestly, because there can be a huge burst of mana, is that it's not clear what that morph is. It's easy for us to say it's a Radical Mystic because we have the deck list, and we know that Jasheway is not playing Deathmist Raptor plus Den Protector, but, given the situation, it's certainly likely that he is playing that combination since it is a green deck.
Yeah, so if you're Gerry, you may think it's a Den Protector. It would be weird if it were a Death Mist Raptor. I would think Ian would play that one face up.
Sure. This scry must be a tough one here for Gerry. He's doing some math. That finger motion that you see from players sometimes.
Sure.
A little bit of counting. Has Siege around in hand that he can't play this turn, but can play next turn. Has Self-Inflicted Wound, Fleece main line over there. Looks like we're going to see a Jamoka's Command fight, kill that, which is wise. Get that thing off of the table and attack here for 5. Radiclaw Mystic's got to go.
There's a good, so he could choose between killing Caryatid and killing Radiclaw. One thing I like about getting the Anafenza up to 5 with Jamoka's Command is it actually becomes a 4-turn clock instead of the 5-turn clock that it normally is.
Speed things up a turn.
The Green Red Devotion deck is not likely to kill a 5/5 Anafenza.
That's very hard. Jasheway with a couple cards in his hand.
Yeah, I don't believe he has removal.
Oh, no, I don't.
He just doesn't, okay, Atarka could kill it.
Pelucranos, something like that. I mean, that's what counts as removal here. 2 Caryatids and a face-down Radiclaw Mystic and a passing of the turn. Thompson will draw a card.
So to be fair, Atarka is online next turn.
Yes,
so.
it is.
Even through a Self-Inflicted Wound.
Thompson thought long and hard about what card to keep on top with that scry. Now he attacks here for 5 points of damage. Jasheway's down to 10. And this is a Siege Rhino. He'll pass the turn back.
Jasheway to 7. Now, Ian is going to have an Atarka this next turn.
Yep. The question is, Thompson can overcome the big 8/8 flyer. Not particularly easy to do. Thompson's hand right now, Heir of the Wilds, Fleece Main Lion, and a copy of Self-Inflicted Wound. Jasheway, you see the Dragonlord Atarka, has another copy of Radiclaw Mystic in hand.
And this is one of the worries about the card Self-Inflicted Wound, is you see Gerry has never had a great opportunity to cast it, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be very relevant this game. It's going to be a 2-point burn spell, which is actually not irrelevant, but he's going to end up getting a Caryatid with it.
Yeah, not going to get anything too great with it, but he's got to bring it in the matchup. And it just ends up, it ends up not being all that great in this particular game. For the reason you mentioned, just hasn't had a great opportunity to cast it at this point. But we'll see if the damage does add up. We're going to get a Dragonlord Atarka here in just a moment. And Jasheway has 4 of that card in his deck, so to see one in his hand is not much of a surprise. There is the big 8/8 that's going to deal 5 damage to something. It's either going to kill Atarka or the Rhino. It's going to kill the Rhino.
I like killing the Rhino, even though it's the smaller creature here, because they're basically the same size as far as Ian's concerned, and there's a chance that Gerry has another Anafenza in his hand.
Yep. Thompson's going to play 2 creatures, Fleece Main Lion and Heir of the Wilds, just pass the turn back. That was Jasheway's big payoff card, was that Dragonlord Atarka. See if he can find another one.
It indeed was a big payoff, but it probably can't attack yet. Gerry's 1 turn off of having the Mana 2 Monstrosity Fleece Main Lion. That's pretty relevant.
Well, it's attacking. It's not afraid. Going to come in for 8. Put Thompson down to 15.
8's a huge number.
Yeah, that thing doesn't really mess around.
3-turn clock.
Pelucranos may be being cast here.
Has a face down. Has a Radiclaw Mystic. Could play it face down. Also just cast Pelucranos.
There's the 5/5 World Eater.
Yep, so now the remaining cards are Radiclaw Mystic and an Elvish Mystic. Mana's not terrible because it allows him to Monstrosity Pelucranos for more.
Siege Rhino the draw.
Great draw. So Siege Rhino is 3 points of burn and Self-Inflicted Wound is 2. So all of Gerry's creatures right now are actually lethal, and I don't know if Ian knows that. So there are certain outs. Gerry could just swing everything, and I'm not positive Ian will block everything. And if Ian doesn't block, if Ian lets even one thing through, then that's too much.
Fleece Main's hanging back.
Remember that this Pelucranos can Monstrosity for 1, so that it will win a fight against Anafenza.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's any number of target creatures. So you can Monstrosity it and have it deal damage to 0 of the creatures so that it wouldn't actually fight. Just pump it. Caryatid goes in front of Air. Polukranos in front of Anafenza.
Might be a double block here. We'll see. Kind of interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Put Rattle Claw there as well. I suppose what he's trying to avoid losing to an Obzon Charm there.
He's off Fleece Main Lion hang back. Thompson's going to organize his blockers as such.
Maybe Turbo Dramoka's command.
Well, I mean, this attack is just good because it just makes Ian think a lot.
Yeah. The double block from Ian is, I mean, he's trying to play, I think he's trying to play around the combat tricks.
Attention, Magic players. If you would like to
See if Ian can outthink himself or make some sort of mistake in this situation. I think that's the plan.
And like I said before, remember that Gerry has 5 points of burn in his hand, which is something you really don't expect out of Obzon aggro.
Yep.
for today's standard challenge, there is still time left to do so.
All right, so Anafen's going to bite the dust. Rattle Claw Miss is going to die. Caryatid's going to die. So Jerry's going to clean up the board a little bit here. Ian's going to add a little bit of mana. He's not going to use it, though. There's a Rhino. Thompson's going to go up to 18. Jasheway down to 4. Going up to 18 is important here because it adds another turn for Thompson's life total. At 15, he would go down 8 points at 7, lethal. So now he gets to play probably 3 more turns.
You remember that another self-inflicted wound, Gerry does have a second one in his board, would be a lethal draw now.
It's a tough draw there from Jasheway. It's a copy of Whisperwood Elemental. That's a real doozy here. He did have 2 creatures in his hand that he could cast. 2 little mana accelerants, and Rattleclaw Mystic and an Elvish Mystic, but you have to imagine that Whisperwood Elemental is better than that.
Yeah, now it will tap him down on one of his blockers to go for Whisperwood, but yeah, it's too good to pass up. It's 2 blockers. That's where Ian's going to go with it. The question here to me will be if he decides to swing Dragonlord Atarka.
Slows down. 2
And Gerry has them both.
Okay.
Just had the 7 points of burn.
Whew. Fair enough. Let's play a third one.
I mentioned it. I said, hey, you know, he does have 2 in his sideboard. He could have them both. I thought he had to top deck one of them, and not that he just had them both.
I thought he did too, but he is able to find the second one. That means we're going to play a third game here. But if you're rooting for Ian Jasheway, one thing to note is that the Devotion deck is on the play this game.
Yeah, and even then, that to me, I don't want to take any credit away from Gerry. It was a win for him, but if you're Ian, you feel like you were cheesed out a little bit there.
A touch.
That's not even a card that was good on that board. The sacrifice effect was acceptable, I suppose. But, I mean, the fact that, like, hey, look, there's this bonus 2 damage, and I got 2 of them, and you're at 4. That's what ended up mattering.
Yep.
Hard one to stomach if
Well,
you're Ian.
like I said, on the play, game 3 with the Devotion deck is a wonderful place to be. Get to accelerate right past Gerry and do some broken things like Dragonlord Atarka ahead of schedule, like Whispered Elemental, like Polukranos, all cards that are very difficult for the Obzon aggro deck to beat. So you have to like his positioning, even though he did. I like what you said. He got cheesed out a little bit
Oh,
there.
yeah, that was...
It's like getting fireballed in Street Fighter a lot, just a little chip damage, kind of annoying.
Yeah, I mean, that can happen in Standard sometimes. You know, it's like if you're beating Mardu and then they just start crackling dooming your face.
Yep.
It's like, that's, like, yeah, it works, but
It's
I
just
don't even
not-
have creatures, you know, you have tons of creatures.
It's not a great way to go.
Yeah.
It's not a great way to go. It's a little bit frustrating, but a win's a win's a win's a win, as they say. And Jasheway is able to win that game. So we'll play a third one here in just a moment. We will briefly talk about the Star City Games Spring Collection. Those are our sleeves, our play mats, our dice bags, all that cool stuff. We've taken some of the stuff from game night, and we also have a little bit of a pun here.
Right, so every season we have our 3 game night pins. So this was the last month's pin, which was the kitten, the current one, which is the bee, and then our bunny for next month. And then we add one of our parody series, which comes out. We have one in every collection. This one is the Delver of Squeakrits, which is a wonderful legacy rodent there.
Depends on your definition of wonderful, because I am...
This art's great.
The art is great. I'm not a Delver of Secrets guy.
No,
myself.
I agree.
I didn't think you were either.
No, goodness, that card's really good against what I like to play.
StarCityGames.com
annoying.
creature collection for more information is we're going to just hate on Delver of Secrets. As the decks we play just can't beat them.
Blue deck's getting wild in the cattle. Yeah, no.
That's one of my favorite things about just when people analyze Magic cards, and we look at all the big splashy effects that we know are going to be good, but we don't even realize some of the commons and uncommons that end up being really good. Like, you know, when Delver of Secrets was kind of revealed in Innistrad, no one really looked at that card as being much of anything. I think more of the narrative was flip cards are stupid more than anything. What are they thinking with this mechanic? I have to unsleeve my card, and there's checklist cards and what's happening. ended up being one of the best limited formats of all time. Delver Secrets ended up being one of the best cards of all time, and just pretty sweet. Pretty sweet.
So, would Delver Squeakrits then flip into a insect rodent?
Someone made a pun about this on Twitter once that was actually good about what it would flip into. I can't recall what it was. It was good, though. It was good.
If mice start getting to fly, I don't know how I feel about this. No, mice, I like that they're on the ground.
We have the cheese stand alone that's made an appearance. Maybe that's what it flips into. If you control no cards in play other than the cheese stands alone and have no cards in your hand. Okay, I remember this.
There was actually a real, but there's a card, what? Then they made it into a real card, Baron Glory. Yeah, there's a real one of it, too.
That's true. The old BG, Baron Glory.
I don't think anyone ever called it that.
I'm right here. Come on. I'm right here. I let you say that a Johnny was like a Jace in the Planeswalker deck yesterday, and you're just going to call me out? I let that go yesterday, and you're going to attack me now. This is unbelievable. You compared a Johnny Mentor of Heroes to Jace the Mind Sculptor, and you were serious. What happened to the old Matthias?
You have to, when the Super Friends team has to reform, sometimes substitutions have to be made. When people retire, the guy who fills in their role is not always the same person.
You're right about that, that's for sure.
Sometimes it's a cat.
Here's an Elvish Mystic to start things off for Jasheway. This is bad news for Thompson. Because you can assume that they're going to have mana acceleration, but I think you'd rather see the mana acceleration start on turn 2 so that you can self-inflicted wound one of them on turn 2. When you see an Elvish Mystic start things off, it's a little bit worse.
I mean, if you're Gerry, you're terrified here that Ian is going to make something like a turn 3 Whisperwood Elemental, and then your turn 2 Fleece main line is not going to look very good.
It's outclassed immediately. So you are crossing your fingers and hoping for the best. You're hoping no Pelucranos, no Whisperwood Elemental, nothing crazy. I think we have Whisperwood Elemental. I think
at least we have a Genesis Hydra.
I mean, he sacrificed that Wooded Foothills pretty fast. So
yeah, I mean, when they play it that quickly, I'm like, oh boy. He's got something.
I'm going to get the mountain with the Wooded Foothills. Down to 18 is Jasheway.
Now, Gerry could have a removal heavy hand. Something like Obzon Charm could help him out here. But you're right, yeah, turn 3 Whisperwood on the play is a tough spot for Gerry.
I mean, it's kind of handy he has to have. He has to have Heroes Downfalls and things to get this creature off the table because it'll just run away with the game.
He has about this turn to Obzon Charm it.
And we're attacking.
Well, it's a safe attack. I don't think Ian will want to block. He doesn't want to lose. He doesn't want Dromoka's command to get him real good.
Yep. Because Dromoka's command will be good in this situation. When you lost the Wishwood Elemental, you just say fight the Manifest, and then you get to get a +1/+1 counter and kill the Wishwood Elemental. That said, we might just see Gerry just Dromoka's command and kill the Wishwood Elemental because, again, that card's so hard for him to beat that he might just have to say, all right, I'm going to have to 2-4 myself, but let's get that off the table.
Yeah, I was wondering whether Gerry even had the Dromoka's command. I mean, you probably have to attack even without it, but he does.
Yep.
Doesn't get the Manifest for free. So Gerry trading his whole board for Whisperwood means he's not just going to lose here, but he's hoping Ian has no follow-ups.
Yeah, I mean, you're hoping that he just draws a lot of ramp and lands and no payoff, or the payoff cards he can't cast. That's kind of the big plan here, especially when you're on the draw and his acceleration has been this plentiful.
Yeah, the remaining cards for Ian is he has a Genesis Hydra, and he has a copy of one of his sideboarded Hornet Nests in hand.
Yep.
And I like how he's doing this. He's ramping out so that he can make a very large Genesis Hydra next turn, and then putting down Hornet's Nest.
A little bit of defense. Now, if Gerry draws a card like Thoughtseize this turn, or has a Thoughtseize to cast, that would be huge. Instead, it's just a Siege Rhino and a passing of the turn.
Well, he has Jasheway down to 12. It's not unreasonable, but this Genesis Hydra is going to be where the game is won and lost for Gerry.
We assume something powerful will come along with it.
Right now, on the board, it's Genesis Hydra for 5. Well, on the other hand, Ian, much better draw. Atarka seems solid here.
The neat thing about Magic is you draw a card every turn.
So there was also the option, I do want to point this out, Ian to kill the Siege Rhino, and that's pretty good. In that absence, he could have Atarka'd the Hornet Nest for 5.
I believe so.
Oh, no, he cannot. I stand corrected. Dragonlord, He is not a total Bogarden Hellkite. You have to target your opponent's
There are a
things.
lot of differences between that card and Bogarden Hellkite, and that is certainly one of them.
Thank you so. Yeah. Nonetheless, killing the Siege Rhino, pretty good there. I don't think Ian's disappointed.
There's a Thoughtseize. That's going to take care of Genesis Hydra. This is going to leave Ian playing off the top of his deck. Thompson's going to play a Fleece mainline. He'll pass the turn back. Atarka's going to hit him for 8 here in just a second.
And it's close. If Thompson had Thoughtseize and then Obzon Charm, then we're looking at a game. And he's got about 1 turn to draw a kill spell for Atarka.
He has exactly 1 turn. I suppose if he draws a Siege Rhino, he gets another turn, but
Yeah.
he needs to find a removal spell for that Dragon Lord Atarka right away, or a Siege Rhino to buy himself 1 more turn.
And how about is he can't even raid the Wingmate Rock in his hand? I mean, first of all, Atarka is what matters, but the Hornet Nest doing a great job of stopping that. I mean, if you want to raid Wingmate Rock, you have to attack into that nest of Hornets.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Gerry right now, your fingers are crossed that things go right. That's really all that can happen. You know, you're hoping the manifest is nothing. You're hoping that the cards that Ian draws right now are nothing, and you're hoping that you draw an answer to the Dragon Lord Atarka. Now, ways that he can stay alive, he draws a removal spell for Dragon Lord Atarka, he plays a Siege Rhino, buys himself a turn to draw something else, and he can, you know, play Wingmate Rock and get the opportunity to stave off some trample damage. He's going to come in with everything right now. You're going to block that manifest.
Sure.
Manifest was a forest. Gerry going to take 9. We'll see if Jasheway has a follow-up. The answer is no. Time to draw a removal spell.
Sense Citadel. That's not a removal spell, but he has a chump blocker. He has a Wingmate Rock.
He has Wingmate Rock, so he gets to play another turn.
Yep. That's his line right now. Play a chump blocker. Maybe we draw a kill spell next turn. I think he has Wingmate Rock, land. There's not many options.
Yeah, the tough thing here is I don't want to say he can't attack. I think he might have to attack because this might give him the best opportunity to win the game.
So he wants 2 chump blockers here, and he's willing to give Ian 3 Hornets for it. And yeah, Ian makes the block, and Gerry offers a concession.
Absolutely. Gerry's going to take that Dragon Lord Atarka and shake the hand. Ian Jasheway is going to win this match over Gerry Thompson 2-1. Green Red Devotion will take care of Obzon aggro. Really, really good draw there for Ian. Man Acceleration into Big Threats is the name of the game for a Devotion strategy. He was able to put it together on the play and gives Thompson his 4th loss and knocks him out of top 8 contention.